Good morning and welcome to another GM Tips. This is GM Rick. Probably the cleanest video I've seen yet of ones I've done. So on the topic of game mechanics and GMing and things that you need to know as a GM, I'm going to spend a little more time here since a couple of my videos have irritated a few people with opinionation. Let me say one thing though, as a GM, we will have opinions, and everyone has opinions. And those opinions are yours. And for the most part, so long as it doesn't disrupt the game mechanics and so long as it doesn't disrupt your party's fun, opinions are welcome. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on a typical combat round or a turn. Let's do a turn. We're going to go a little bit bigger and work our way down. A turn is composed of 10 combat rounds. Each round's a second. Now, in a typical combat round, you've got a couple different things. You have either a full round action and a 5-foot step, or a move and a combat, a standard action, or a standard action. I'm sorry, a standard action. It doesn't have to be necessarily combat. A standard action and a move. And that's what makes up a typical combat round for most game systems. Now, this may vary, and again, there are some systems that do it differently, and so I'm taking the systems that are based similar to a D20 system, or even some of the D6 systems follow this rule. Now, I'm going to focus mostly on a D20 system, so that way then you know in similarity what's going on. I know for the D6ers, there's enough of those doing it out there, and so those are the GURPS systems usually, or something like them. And you're welcome to look up those videos. I'm not going to spend my time entrenched on that with this. I'm going to focus more on the D20. Now, I'm going to go through a couple type of actions. Now, I'm going to list these off for you because I think they're important for the rounds and the understanding move actions or standard actions. So let's look at those first. The standard actions. They can be comprised of either a melee attack, a ranged attack, or an unarmed attack. So say like a monk or even a natural weapon type of attack. So a bear uses claws. You can activate a magic item as a standard action. You can aid another. So say you need to do a heal check, or you want to aid somebody in their check to do diplomacy to try to calm down the situation. That's all considered to be a standard action. Casting a spell. Now, most spells are a standard action. There are some that are full round actions, and you just have to look up. So when a spell's cast, go into the section, and under the section under the spells, it will tell you for the preparation time how long it's going to take. And so you want to take a look at that. Channeling energy. So if you are a priest, channeling energy of some sort, that would fall into there. If you are opening the door to get into a vehicle, if you are turning on a vehicle, standard actions. Concentrating to maintain an active spell. So you want to concentrate to maintain that spell that you already cast the previous round. That's a standard action. To dismiss a spell. Say you're done and you don't want to use that spell anymore on the next creature. It's not going to affect it. You can dismiss it. But that's a standard action. Drinking a potion or drawing some sort of a weapon. So say you're going to draw your blaster pistol, your lightsaber. That's a standard action. You're going to draw your sword. You're going to draw your dagger. You're going to draw your throwing knife. All standard actions. Unless you've got quick draw. And there are some feats that allow you to do that. So take into mind, this is not taking into account the feats that are going on. This is taking into account that you are just simply drawing and you don't have any special skills there. Drawing a hidden weapon or using, it's a sleight of hand type of thing where you're bringing it out so nobody can see where you're hiding it. And so out it comes. That's a standard action. If somebody's got you grappled, so say an opponent's got you in a tentacle, or you are grappled by this giant space monster that is trying to crush the life out of you, it is a standard action to try to break out of its grip. A feint. So say you're trying to draw a monster to do something on an attack, and you're trying to mess with their mind. That's a feint, where you try to lunge in a little bit, but then pull back. There's a lot of ways you can feint. I know I'm just picking a standard one. So again, feint, that's what they mean by that. You're trying to draw the creature into an area where it's vulnerable, maybe for another player to attack it. So say you're by the War Priest or by the superhero like the Hulk, and you're the fast one. So you want to draw a feint in like you're going to attack it, so the creature will extend itself to try to defend itself in a certain way. Then your Crusher Bruiser can come in and just slam the heck out of it. Lighting something, so lighting a torch, lighting a sconce, lighting a brazier, lighting a Molotov cocktail, lighting anything. That's a standard action. Lowering a spell resistance. So if you're in a game with spells, that's a standard action to lower your spell resistance. Reading something. So reading a scroll, reading a text, reading some sort of arcane thing that will help you. Reading something that has a defensive part to it. Reading a comm panel. That's a standard action. To ready something. So if you're readying something but you're holding back, that's also a standard action. And that plays into, and mind you as a GM, if somebody readies but doesn't use it in their round, and in the round they choose to use it, that becomes their new attack round or their new round of play. So say they go on a 20, you rolled an initiative, and they go on 20. But they choose to wait till 13 to see what the monster does, or the baddie. That is their new round then. So keep that in mind in the mechanics. If they ready an action but don't use it, when they do use it, becomes their actual round. Stabilize a dying person. So say somebody's down and you need to give them a stim pack, or you need to get out a sealing bandage that goes on like a skin bandage, or you want to use bandages for old time's sake and help them out with your sewing them up. That's a round action. Total defense. So say you don't want to attack that round, you just want to put everything into defense of what you're doing. So whether it's martial arts, whether it's a shield, whether it's a move with your lightsaber or your light sword or your vibro sword, you want that whole thing right there in that defensive stance is a standard action. Using an extraordinary ability. So say you want to use a mind crush on somebody, or you want to mess with their mind, or you want to use some more other sort of extraordinary ability. Say you can shoot flame out your hands. That's a standard action. Using a skill that takes an action. So say you want to do an acrobatics check to roll out of the way of something, or you want to do a stealth check to go stealth and hide somewhere, or you want to do a climb check to go up so that you can jump down on the opponent. Those are all standard actions. Using a spell-like ability. So it doesn't have to be a spell itself. Some creatures and NPCs or even player characters have what they call a spell-like ability. That's a standard action to activate that. A supernatural ability. So something supernatural. So say maybe you're calling as a medium on a creature to help you, a ghost of some powerful creature to come help you. That's a standard action. So I wanted to give you, those are the things that are the first part of the round or the second part, because you can either do a move and a standard action, or a standard action and a move. Whatever you want to do. But that's kind of how it plays out for what is considered standard actions. There's other things with it. Take off a helicopter or a hovercraft. to make a defensive maneuver with your starship or your mech. That's also a standard action, depending. Some things are full round actions, but you get the gist of it. It's something outside of a move action that you want to do. Alright, so a move action is that. It's moving. Okay? It could be controlling a frightened mount. So that's a move action. So say your mount gets spooked and you have to control it. That takes your move action to do that. Nicely, it doesn't take away from your standard action. Direct or redirect an active spell. So say you've activated a spiritual weapon. Your move action moves it to another spot. And so you still have your standard action, but that's what it's going to take. Is that other action? You can also draw a weapon on a move. So you can either draw it on the standard action, so if you want to move up and draw your weapon, or draw your weapon and move up, you can flip-flop it around. You can just draw your weapon and get ready to strike. Now, mind you, we're going to talk about attacks of opportunities, because there's a table in each book that you guys are going to have. And it will either talk about an attack of opportunity or not, or sometimes referred to as an AO. D&D and Pathfinder refer to it as an AO. Other systems sometimes have it, sometimes not. There's some great charts in the GM's Guide in the core rulebook for the GMing in Pathfinder on page 183 that gives you all these tables. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't know in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm sorry for the D&D Fivers. You'll have to take a look, and it'll be under Actions in Combat and Move. So find your Actions in Combat table. It'll be something similar to that or similarly named. I suggest to any GM, print this out or copy it, because when you have this in front of you, you're not always having to look up, does something work or not? And in fact, under these combat sections, keynotes make copies so you have them there so that you have them at your fingertip to use. It is so much tougher to look them up, and believe me, this weekend I had that experience. It is tough when you got to go look them up because it stops everything down while you're doing that. So back to move actions. Loading a weapon is considered a move action. So loading a pistol, loading a crossbow, loading whatever is a move action. Opening and closing a door, move action. Mounting or dismounting some sort of vehicle or steed, so a motorcycle, a steed that you're riding of some sort, like a griffin or a hippogriffin, that is a move action. Moving a heavy object. So if you guys are trying to move a heavy object into a defensive thing, so say you want to move the bar table and kick it over. Kicking it over, I usually do as a swift action, and then moving it in place to protect you is a move action. Picking up an item that you dropped. So say you lose your sword, you fumble your sword. The next round is going to take a move action for you to pick it up, or your gun, or clearing a jam in your gun. Same type of thing. If you want to sheathe the weapon or put it away, stand up from being prone. So if prone means you're laying down, so when you want to get up, that's a move action. Readying or dropping a shield. Again, move action. Or retrieving a stored item. So you have something in a pouch or in your backpack. It takes a move action for you to get that out. So just keep these things in mind. Sorry, breakfast. So we've covered standard actions. We've covered move actions. Let's look at a full round action. So a full round action takes both the standard action and the move action and only leaves a 5-foot move at the end for your play, for your whoever, the bad guy, your player. That's what that comprises. So a full attack. What's a full attack? That means a character's got multiple attacks in a round. So say they got 3 attacks around. That's a full action for them to use that. They can't do the full action. They can't do all 3 attacks and then move. They can, however, do 1 attack and move. So that is allowable. A charge. So you're charging at 3x your speed at a creature, barreling down on them to just knock them over. That's a full action, full round action. Deliver a coup de grace. So you've got a incapacitated or helpless enemy, and you want to cut their throat. or put a bullet in their head. That's a full round action. Escape from a net. So say you get caught in a net or a web spell of some sort, and you want to cut your way out, it takes a full round to do it. Extinguish flames. So you got a big flaming area that's come up from a Molotov, and you want to put it out. That takes a full round action. Loading a repeating crossbow. Now, the difference, or loading a full clip if you have an ammo clip, it's different to chamber a round. If you're loading a full clip up, or you're opening your revolver and reloading it, it's a full round action. Lock or unlock a weapon in a locked gauntlet. So say you've got a gauntlet that protects something special that you have. To unlock that and get it out and put it on, that takes a full round action. Prepare to throw a splash weapon. Full round, especially if you're going to light it. To run away or do a full-on run to something, that is a full round action. Use a skill that takes a whole round. Sometimes you have those skills that take a full round that you got to concentrate on. Use a touch spell on up to 6 friends. So say you want to move around and touch 6 people with the touch type of spell situation, that you got to touch each one to make it active. That is a full round action. Or to withdraw from combat is a full round action, because that means you're defensively trying to watch every direction and not draw an attack of opportunity. In a round, you've also got things called free actions, swift actions, immediate actions. Those are all kind of things that they're similar, but a little bit different in the nuances. So let me give you an example of free actions. Stop concentrating on a spell and let it drop. That's a standard action. Drop an item. Just drop it out of your hand. So you're dropping a sword to then draw another one. It doesn't cost you a standard action. It's just a free action to do. Drop to the floor. So say you just want to go prone. That is a free action. Prepare spell components to cast a spell. Surprisingly, a free action. Or to speak to someone. A free action. Doesn't cost you anything, even in combat. Swift actions. So you want to cast a quicken spell. So you have a quicken ability to cast. That is what's called a swift action. An immediate action. So say it's just activating a feather fall because you're falling. That's an immediate action. So those are the different types of actions you can use in a round. I'm not going to discuss attacks of opportunity other than to say this. An attack of opportunity is you do an action that draws the enemy to have a free hit at you or strike at you of some sort. Perfect example. You're trying to shoot a crossbow 5 feet away from your enemy. Not an easy thing to do. So it's an action there. Now, the other thing you got to look into with an attack of opportunity is what are you doing to provoke it? Now, you can provoke up to multiples. And usually an attack of opportunity comes when you do something that draws attention to yourself or makes you vulnerable to an enemy's attack. So like casting a spell, reloading in a zone of fire that you're not behind something in cover, moving through a threatened square. So say you want to move from one opponent to another to try to help and save a friend. You're going to draw an attack of opportunity moving past that creature. Unless you do something unique like an acrobatics check to tumble by them. That's going to be what will draw the attacks of opportunity. Now, understanding around, there's a lot of other things that can happen. There are things from the types of actions that you can do in combat. You will have saving throws. So saving throws usually involve something that's affecting the player's system, body, chi, whatever you want to call it. It could be a psychic attack, it could be a spell attack, it could be some other sort of attack. They get a saving throw most times. So a saving throw, they're going to have a certain amount depending on what their dexterity is, their constitution is, or their wisdom is. Will depend on what type of modifier they get to a saving throw, as well as things that they get for their class that make them tougher. So keep that in mind. Saving throws are also part of combat. You're going to have modifiers for different things in combat. So size is a big deal. Size modifiers either make you tougher to hit or easier to hit. You're going to have other things in combat like spells that are, or darkness that is causing it harder to make it easy to hit something in combat. And so you're going to have a lot of different modifiers. There's for the Pathfinder folks, they have creature size modifiers, attack roll modifiers, and armor class modifiers with the different types of terrain and other things that are involved. That's on page 195 of the core rulebook. Again, it's another thing I would copy. I would do the same in the DM's guide. I do the same in any game master guide where you have those type of things to keep those with you. You may even pin them up into your shield to make it easier. Then you got the special attacks. The special attacks and combat maneuvers all fall into a whole another element themselves. In Pathfinder, and I believe also, I don't know if D&D 5e has it. There's a thing called CMB, which is the combat base attack bonus. It's combat maneuver bonus, as well as CMD, which is the combat maneuver defense. So the one trying to do the combat maneuver has to roll and overcome the creature's defense in order to have success at what they're trying to do, whether it's grappling, tripping, trying to do something that is unique, overrunning, sundering the person's weapon. Those all fall into those type of things. And so, I kind of want to go a little bit through the combat round with you, just so that you have a little better understanding. Those are the mechanics that as a GM, you really want to know and get very, very, very good at. That way it'll streamline how quickly a combat will go, and it can make rounds go faster in order to, resolve the situation and get back to just their standard role play. So keep that in mind, that as you're doing that, some other things you may want to use, and again, whether it's D&D or another system, I love the fumble deck and the critical decks from Paizo. I suggest getting them no matter what system you have, because they do equate really well and give you some ideas. Also having the different types of effects. So they have a card deck for condition modifiers. And so if you're stunned, if you are sickened, whatever, they have those cards, and you can put them down right beside the character and know what kind of negatives they get, or the player knows what the modifiers are for being in that condition. So those are always great to have, no matter your system. And so I think that's it. Again, I wanted to just do a dive a little bit into combat, because I think sometimes it's so overwhelming. People complain that Paizo's system is so complex, or their other system is so complex, or this system's complex. It doesn't have to be complex. I know D&D has some other things you can do into a standard round. So you can add another attack depending on what you're doing. So again, wish I was a little more familiar with the 5e rules when it comes to that. But you can take a look at that and just keep in mind that that's what is allowable for your characters. They can do buffs and different things that you don't have in Pathfinder. So keep that in mind. And the same is true of any systems. You may have some other modifiers. So Deadlands may have another set of modifiers in there. Savage Worlds as a whole has a little bit different twist on things. Cypher system may have its own. Just get really familiar with the mechanics of it, because that will help you then to resolve things and move through things a lot easier. And if your players have questions, you can easily answer them for them. And it really makes the experience a lot more fun when you can do that quickly and answer those questions. So I hope that helps you with this GM's tip. Again, I want to get a little bit back into the mechanics. There's going to be some other mechanics I'll go along and do as we get going. That way everybody can get more familiar with the mechanics of their system. Thanks, and have a great week.